Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about shocking pop culture trends from the 1950s. The 50s were a decade marked by the post-World War II boom, the dawn of the Cold War, and the civil rights movement in the United States. America at this moment, said the former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in 1945, stands at the summit of the world. During the 1950s, it was easy to see what Churchill meant. The United States was the world's strongest military power. Its economy was booming, and the fruits of its prosperity, new cars, suburban houses, and other consumer goods were available to more people than ever before. However, the 1950s were also an era of great conflict. For example, the civil rights movement, the crusade against communism at home and abroad exposed the underlying divisions of American society. Historians use the word boom to describe a lot of things about the 1950s. The booming economy, the booming suburbs, and most of all the so-called baby boom. The boom began in 1946 when a record number of babies, 3.4 million, were born in the United States. About 4 million babies were born each year during the 1950s. In all, by the time the boom finally tapered off in 1964, there were almost 77 million baby boomers. After World War II ended, many Americans were eager to have children because they were confident that the future held nothing but peace and prosperity. In many ways, they were right. Between 1945 and 1960, the gross national product more than doubled, growing from 200 billion to more than 500 billion, kicking off the golden age of American capitalism. Much of this increase came from government spending, the construction of interstate highways and schools, the distribution of veterans' benefits, and most of all, the increase in military spending on goods like airplanes and new technologies like computers all contributed to the decade's economic growth. Rates of unemployment and inflation were low and wages were high. Middle-class people had more money to spend than ever before. Because the variety and availability of consumer goods expanded along with the economy, they also had more things to buy. In the 1950s, televisions became something the average family could afford, and by 1950, 4.4 million U.S. families had one in their home. The golden age of television was marked by family-friendly shows like I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners, The Twilight Zone, and Leave It to Beaver. In movie theaters, actors like John Wayne, James Stewart, Charlton Heston, Marlon Brando, Grace Kelly, Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin, Elizabeth Taylor, and Marilyn Monroe dominated the box office. The abstract expressionism of Jackson Pollock and William de Kooning signaled a new age in art, paving the way for pop artists like Andy Warhol in the 1960s. Popular music in the 1950s were Elvis Presley, Sam Cooke, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Buddy Holly. The 1950s saw the emergence of rock and roll, and the new sound swept the nation. It helped inspire rockabilly music from Jerry Lee Lewis and Johnny Cash. People swayed to the Platters and the Drifters. Music marketing changed too. For the first time, music began to target youth. So Elvis Presley was huge in the 1950s. He was born on January 8, 1935 and passed away on August 16, 1977. He is regarded as one of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century and is often referred to as the King of Rock and Roll, or simply the King. His energized interpretations of songs and sexually provocative performance style, combined with his singularly potent mix of influences across color lines during a transformative era in race relations, led him to great success and initial controversy. Sam Cooke was born on January 22, 1931, and passed away on December 11, 1964, and he was an American singer, songwriter, and entrepreneur. He was also influential as a composer and producer, and is commonly known as this King of Soul for his distinctive vocals and significance in popular music. Chuck Berry was born on October 18, 1926, and passed away on March 18, 2017, and he was an American singer, songwriter, and guitarist, and one of the pioneers of rock and roll music. He was nicknamed the father of rock and roll, and Berry refined and developed rhythm and blues and the major elements that made rock and roll distinctive, with songs such as Maybelline, Roll Over Beethoven, Rock and Roll Music, and Johnny Be Good. writing lyrics that focus on teen life and consumerism, and developing a music style that included guitar solos and showmanship. Barry was a major influence on subsequent rock music. Fats Domino was born on February 26, 1928, and passed away on October 24, 2017, was an American pianist and singer-songwriter. One of the pioneers of rock and roll music, Domino sold more than 65 million records between 1955 and 1960. He had 11 top 10 hits. His humility and shyness may be one of the reasons his contribution to the genre has been overlooked. Buddy Holly was born on 1936 and passed away on February 3, 1959, known professionally as Buddy Holly, was an American musician and singer-songwriter who was a central and pioneering figure in the mid-1950s rock and roll. He was born in Lubbock, Texas, to a family during the Great Depression and learned to play guitar and sing alongside his siblings. His style was influenced by gospel music, country music, and rhythm and blues, which he performed in Lubbock with his friends from high school. Jerry Lee Lewis was born on September 29, 1935, and he was an American singer and pianist, often known by his nickname, The Killer. He has been described as rock and roll's first great wild man and one of the most influential pianists of the 20th century. A pioneer of rock and roll and rockabilly music, Lewis made his first recordings in 1956 at Sun Records in Memphis. Crazy Arms sold 300,000 copies in the South, but it was his 1957 hit Whole Lotta Shakin' Goin' On that shot Lewis to fame worldwide. He followed this with Great Balls of Fire, Breathless, and High School Confidential. And Johnny Cash was born on February 26, 1932, and passed away on September 12, 2003. He was an American singer, songwriter, musician, and actor. Much of Cash's music contained themes of sorrow, moral, tribulation, and redemption, especially in the later stages of his career. He was known for his deep, calm, bass baritone voice, the distinctive sound of his Tennessee 3 backing band characterized by train-like chugging guitar rhythms, a rebelliousness coupled with an increasingly somber and humble demeanor, free prison concerts, and a trademark all-black stage wardrobe which earned his nickname the Man in Black. And popular movies in the 1950s were Rear Window, 1954, and this is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring James Stewart and Grace Kelly. A wheelchair-bound photographer spies on his neighbors from his apartment window and becomes convinced one of them has committed murder. And the next movie is Some Like It Hot, 1959, and it's directed by Billy Wilder, starring Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. After two male musicians witness a mob hit, they flee the state in an all-female band disguised as women, but further complications set in. And the next movie is Sunset Boulevard from 1950, and this one is also directed by Billy Wilder, and it stars Gloria Swanson. It's a screenwriter develops a dangerous relationship with a faded film star determined to make a triumphant comeback. And another popular film from the 50s is A Streetcar Named Desire, starring Marlon Brando and Vivian Leigh. And disturbed Blanche moves in with her sister in New Orleans and is tormented by her brutish brother-in-law while her reality crumbles around her. And another infamous movie is Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. A rebellious young man with a troubled past comes to a new town, finding friends and enemies, and this stars James Dean and Natalie Wood. And another favorite from the 50s is Sabrina, 1954. Again, this was directed by Billy Wilder, and it stars Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn. A playboy becomes interested in the daughter of his family's chauffeur, but it's his most serious brother who would be the better man for her. And popular candies in the 1950s are Pixie Sticks candy, a unique and flavorsome powdered retro candy inside of a straw-like shape, invented in 1952 in St. Louis, Missouri. It was originally made by Sunlight Incorporated. This old-fashioned candy started out as a mix of drinks and went to the name of Fruitola. When the maker of Fruitola discovered that people were just eating the powder instead of mixing it with water, they decided to market this yummy powder as a candy. And another popular 1950s candies are Marshmallow Peeps, and these are brightly colored marshmallows, and they're usually associated with Easter. And they came along in 1953 and were made by Just Born. And believe it or not, these marshmallow chicks were once made by hand before they were mass produced. And another popular 50s candies are hot tamales. These spicy and sweet candies came out in 1950, and they have an intense cinnamon flavor. And another popular candy from the 50s is Lucky Elephant pink candy popcorn. And this is a delicious pink candied popcorn, and it's actually a retro Canadian candy that got started in the early 1950s, and it's a delightful pink candy with a cute little elephant on the front. I really want to try these now. It just sounds really cute. And another popular candy I remember liking as a kid are the candy necklaces that came out in 1958, and lots of little girls like to use these. And popular foods in the 1950s, again this was popular in the 40s and it's going on to the 50s, are gelatin molds. And no special occasion was complete without something served in a gelatin mold in the 1950s. According to the Jello Gallery, the lime flavored was introduced in 1930. It became the basis for many molds in the 50s and 60s, showcasing a cook's creativity. These might include cottage cheese, crushed pineapple, oranges, nuts, celery, and sour cream or even vinegar, grated cucumber, and an onion topped with shrimp. This sounds so weird. I really want to try making one of these weird jello things. I just feel like it's a weird combination to mix like lime fruit with like cottage cheese. It sounds kind of disgusting actually. And another popular 50s food is tuna noodle casserole. And this dish was a staple in the 50s and 60s dinner table. It contained canned tuna, canned mushroom soup, and various seasoning that ranged from curry powder to grated American cheese. And another popular food was pineapple upside down cake. This sunny cake with its slices of pineapple dotted with cherries has been around a long time. In fact, a pineapple upside down cake won the first Dole recipe contest in 1926. By the 1950s and 1960s, the cake was at the peak of popularity, perhaps because of the ease of using box cake mixes, which were increasingly available after World War II. And another dish is chicken a la king. This dish contained chunks of chicken and veggies in a cream sauce, often canned cream of mushroom soup, served over biscuits, rice, or pilaf. And another popular food was ambrosia. And this was kind of a salad that includes oranges and coconut and sometimes maraschino cherries, bananas, pineapple, and marshmallows. So gelatin and whipped toppings were often added. I want to try this one too. I feel like I remember maybe seeing it when I was a kid and thinking it looked gross, but I never actually tried it, so now I'm really curious. And another popular dish was meatloaf. And everybody's mom had a different recipe of meatloaf, but chances are if it was at your table at least 1 week. I remember when I was younger, my mom used to actually make meatloaf. And this became a staple during the Great Depression when meat was pricey. But growing up in the 50s and 60s, it was a simple, cheap way to feed the family. And then you had leftovers for sandwiches the next day. Whether you like your slathered with ketchup or not, meatloaf retains its status as an American classic. And frozen TV dinners became popular in the 50s. What do you think of 260 extra tons of leftover turkey? Flash freeze it and stick it in a tiny aluminum trays. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, when the Swanson Company had an overage of turkey after Thanksgiving in 1953, they came up with the idea to package it as a part of a reheatable meal. Coupled with the country's new fascination with television, these dinners, aka TV dinners, quickly became a hit. And another popular dish in the 50s was wacky cake. Dating back to the late 40s, this cake has been part of cookbooks ever since. What makes it wacky? No eggs, butter, or milk are used, and everything's dumped in a pan and mixed. The cake grew in popularity because of inexpensive ingredients were in any pantry in the 50s and 60s, and it was really easy to whip up. And popular perfumes in the 50s were Femme de Rochas, was a sweet, sultry perfume aimed at the femme fatale, created in 1944. There's also Après by Lavande, which is a floral romantic perfume, which was created in 1927 but became very popular in the 50s. Max Factor's Hypnotique was very popular and an affordable perfume for the masses in the 50s. And also Evening in Paris by Bourjois, which is a fragrance for teenagers in the 1950s, and it was discontinued in 1969 but relaunched again in 1992. And popular 1950s beauty products. So the key makeup looks of the 1950s. The 1950s were a glamorous decade. Creams, foundations, and shadows were a thing. It was the era of the mask effect, a thick, creamy application of foundation and flesh-colored powders to set. Eyebrows still a natural look, but more tapered and feminine. Rouges were less emphasized than in the 1940s. If there was a color to define the 50s, it would be pink. Pink hues and shadows and reddish pink lipsticks. In the 1950s, women perfectly matched their lipstick and eyeshadow to her clothing and accessories as well as their home decor. In the 1950s, face powder and foundation were a shade darker than the natural skin tone and had a pinkish hue to it. Blush was a light pink color to complement the pink skin tone. Eyeliner was done along the top eyelid in a cat eye and usually had matching cake mascara. Popular lipstick products in the 1950s were red, pink, coral, and orange tints in a matte finish, one shade lighter for day wear and darker in the evening. And popular fashion in the 1950s. So in 1947, Christian Dior turned 1940s fashion upside down with his new look. The new look was a big and bold and utterly feminine. Dress skirts were full and busts were padded and accentuated a small waist. The look was inspired by the Victorian era, but made shorter and sexier while still being modest. Most women were encouraged to fulfill their role as wife, mother, and homemaker, and to be beautiful doing so. Her appearance was linked to her husband's success, causing a big boom in the clothing industry as women spent more time shopping for the latest fashions. There were two classic dress shapes in the 50s. The most popular style today is the full-skirted T-length dress, often called the 50s swing dress. The other very classic look was a form-fitting sheath dress, often called a pencil or wiggle dress today. Both styles had modest, snug-fitting tops with narrow, high waistlines, shin-length or T-length skirts. Both styles were worn by women equally, although sheath dresses were too impractical to wear as house dresses. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my 1950s video, and stay tuned. I will do the 1960s next. Alright, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!